TGIF Chicago, welcome to your weekend, friends, and welcome to a fabulous Friday sports night in Chicago. I'm the voice of the Chicago sports fan, Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. You're probably wondering, who is this guy? I'm Clint Campbell from Iowa, fresh out of the Federal Witness Protection Program. I need a safe place to hide out after watching too many White Sox games in 2024. I'm so glad to be back with you with the best team in sports podcasting. We've got the dream team, friends. The great American DJ Matt Cooper is in the house, along with Dano Blakes and Jamari Riddick, the greatest football fan you will find on either side of the Hudson River, coming to us from New Jersey. Fellas, how we doing tonight, guys?
You had to bring up the White Sox to start off the podcast, didn't you?
Coop, I couldn't help myself. I've missed you so much. I got 3 months of Sox jokes waiting for you as we go further in.
And I converted Dano to a Sox fan too, by the way. While you were gone, I converted Dano to a Sox fan.
Yeah.
You
Don't ever insult me like that again.
A Sox fan during the worst season in the history of Major League Baseball.
He just wanted to get an Andrew Benintendi jersey, man.
They are hot. They're a hot item indeed. Guys, so great to have you with us. We have an action-packed show for you tonight, starting with the biggest game of Bears coach Matt Eberflus' life coming up on Sunday as the Bears take on the Patriots in a high noon showdown at Soldier Field. That will be on Fox. Bears a 6-point favorite in a game that they simply cannot lose if they are going to stay and the NFC playoff race. As we kick things off, folks, want to let you know this segment of Chicago Sports Podcast is brought to you by Elite Icons Framing and Sports Memorabilia, which is proudly hosting the NFL's Big Catch Man, Bears All-Pro wide receiver guys, DJ Moore. DJ will have a public autograph signing with Elite Icons Framing and Sports Memorabilia. That will be on Saturday, November 30th at Sports & More at 237 Yorktown Center in Lombard. Kickoff for DJ's autograph signing, folks, is 2 p.m. More information is available on our Chicago Sports Podcast Facebook page. Also, friends, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like us on YouTube. Okay, fellas, we've reached the pivotal playoff crossroads now. Sunday, our Bears face this Patriots team that is a more must win than making sure you wear your pants to church or on Sunday or work on Monday. We're 4-4. We're losers of 2 straight, and we're facing an all uphill Mount Everest climb to the playoffs against the NFL's toughest remaining schedule. You know, Dano, I would rather be Rocky Balboa facing Ivan Drago than taking on the Bears' remaining 2024 schedule right now. Let's start off with you, Dano Blakes. Is this the definition of must-win game in the National Football League?
I mean, if it isn't, I don't know what is, They don't win this game. If the season isn't over already, I could probably put the nail in the coffin on this one.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I think you can put the nail in the coffin of Matt Eberflus' time in Chicago, possibly, most likely. We know the schedule isn't going to be doing them any justice the rest of the way with the NFC North, especially with them being the best division in football. I would say 100%, it's a must-win.
Jamari, not that we want to relive it, but what has gone so horribly wrong for this team over the last 2 weeks?
I think it's, they still making critical mistakes. Matt Eberflus and the situational football is they still haven't gotten it right. I feel like they haven't been able to move off of the mistakes. So, and I said last week we needed to stick to the run, and they still kept passing it, staying behind the chains. So I think those problems still keep haunting us.
Yeah. As Jamari says, we just can't get any kind of consistency. Matt Cooper, you've been watching this team week in and week out in this year. John Bon Jovi and every wonderful member of the Eberflus family will tell us to keep the faith, But Coop, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your faith level, Matt Eberflus, that he can have this team ready to rock and roll and win on Sunday?
My level is, listen, if they were playing the Chiefs or they were playing somebody else, my level would be probably at a 1.
Mhm.
But since we're playing the Patriots, I think I am going to go right in the middle. I'm going to go at a 5 because I think with everything that's gone on the last couple of weeks, even last week's game against Arizona where they just their doors got blown off them. That wasn't even a game at all. I mean, I can't believe how poor that was. But we're playing a team this week that's one of the worst in the league. They're one of the 5 worst teams in the league. I watched that game last week. I watched a little bit more of that against the Titans. And I mean, unless you guys can see something that I don't see, but there's not a lot of positivity you could say about the Patriots on their team, except for the quarterback, who's actually looked pretty good. But other than that, they don't really have a lot of skill position players on that team. So I think coach or not, even if Eberflus, even if the coaching staff this game, even if they did something where they would cause us to question them like they do pretty much every game when we come on our show and talk about, I still think the talent on the Bears team can overcome the talent on the Patriots. Just talent alone, they can beat them.
Yeah. The thing about it is, right now, NFL.com, Dano, if we win Sunday, our playoff chances go to 11%. If we lose, they go to 4%. So, like our great reader said, the point of no return is probably already passed. But want to get your thoughts about the man who's got us here, Dano. We've been getting conflicting reports all week long regarding General Manager Ryan Poles' faith in Eberflus. I've read 3 stories this week, Dano, that said, Ryan has already told Flus he's safe through for the last 2 years of his contract. I've read 2 other stories, including one by our good friend David Kaplan, very good friend of Monsters of the Madhouse, that Ryan would have no qualms firing a coach, mid-season if he thought it was in the best competitive interest of the team. Now, we know, Dano, that we all know too well the House and McCaskey families have never fired a coach head season. So you make the call. Are the Bears going to ride or die with Flus to the finish no matter what happens from here? Is there any chance he gets the pink slip, or are we riding with him and likely dying with him all the way through week 18?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a 0% chance that he, at least going by the history of this franchise, the long history of this franchise, there's no way they're firing him at the end of the season. I'll say this right now, that if he does only win 1-2 more games, if Ryan Poles does not fire Matt Eberflus, then I'm going to start having questions, some serious questions about Matt Eberflus, or I'm sorry, Ryan Poles. And I'm a huge Ryan Poles fan.
Yeah.
But to keep him, if they continue on the track that they are now, is just, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah. Monsters Nation agrees with you. Everyone chiming in, guys. Thanks. Keep the comments coming. John, Bearski Film, everybody's saying that he will not get fired before the year's over. Jamari, if you had to tell a Bears brother or sister to keep the faith that this team can still make the playoffs in 2024, what's the reason? We don't want to give up, Jamari. What's the reason? What's the hope, the real valid hope to keep the faith that this team can make a miracle run against the NFL's toughest remaining schedule?
Man, if I had to keep faith or to convince somebody, I mean, I would just say like this team. I would just say the team has plenty of talent, and hopefully Shane Waldron gets this offense going. Like now that Khalil Herbert is gone, maybe he can find that perfect balance between Roschon and Swift to keep this run game going. Hopefully we can start running some screens or something like that to take the rush off of Caleb. And hopefully Caleb starts hitting on these downfield routes with Dunze, to DJ, and to Keenan. Hopefully the chemistry with these players will start to click later down the stretch.
I would say the defense. I would say the defense, the quality of the defense. Sorry for jumping in, but
yeah. No problem at all, Daniel. And let's talk about that. Coop, is that the real reason that we shouldn't lose faith? What Jamari's saying, all the talent that Caleb has, and like Daniel says, there's still the makings of potentially of a top 5 defense here.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, with the way we're set up right now on our defense, even though when you look at the game last week, I was a little bit discouraged, especially on the run game part of it. Run defense gave up so much yardage to the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm hoping that we don't have a repeat of that this week, but I think our defense has played well enough. I think, though, at the end of the day, it's going to be all about Caleb Williams, and it's going to be about the quarterback play. And I think this reason why I say that, and it's going to be interesting to see him go up against Drake May this week, the two guys that are in the first round of the draft, because you look at what Drake May's done here, did at the last game. He was pretty impressive, and I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but he was impressive on what he did, his mobility and stuff like that. But I go back to yesterday when I was watching the Ravens and Bengals game yesterday, and I see the quarterback play of Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, and I see those are elite quarterbacks, and then if you have quarterback play like that, you're going to be in every single game, and I think that's what we want to see. I didn't listen. This is Caleb Williams' first year as a quarterback, but I think a couple of years from now, that's what we want to see on our end is what they're putting out there right now.
Yeah,
because if you have quarterback play like that, you're a legit contender.
Yeah, that's the dream that Caleb Williams evolves into Lamar Jackson, guys, who I tell you what, he was perfect statistically. That was one of the greatest fourth quarter performances I've ever seen by a quarterback. Phenomenal. I tell you what, guys, we're gonna be diving into Caleb big time here in just a few minutes, but let's talk about the elephant in the room here. A lot of talk this week at all too about Ben Johnson, the just absolute genius of an offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, about if Flus does get fired at the end of the year, is he that first call that George McCaskey makes? Well, and would he even want to take the Bears job at this point with all our dysfunction? Jamari, can I get yours? As you look at what he's done with that offense in Detroit, Ben Johnson, Jamari, particularly, he's brought Jared Goff back to life. He's turned Jared Goff into a legit, maybe top 5 quarterback, in my opinion, in the NFL. What is Ben Johnson's greatest strengths as a coordinator, Jamari? And would he be the right fit for the Bears?
I think his biggest strength right now with Detroit, he has a perfect balance with Monty and Gibbs. He knows how to scheme open receivers, like St. Brown gets open. Even how Jameson Williams, like when he's on the field, he can break a game open too. So, and it also helps that Detroit has a great offensive line. And their defense, even though I won't say like they're great, but they can make plays also. So I think if you come to Chicago, he can definitely get these weapons going. I think we'll definitely prioritize building the trenches on the offensive line next year. DJ and Odunze will be here next year. I don't know about Keenan, but I think that he has enough, and Komet will be here too. So he has enough. If he gets the job in Chicago, he has enough to definitely get this Bears offense playing at the next level, take that next step.
Yeah, without question, he would take this offense to another level. Dano, is it a possibility? When Ben Johnson sees this, he sees not the dysfunction that Ryan Poles would bring, but Ryan Poles, I think, would be a great person to work with. But I'm sure he's studying what's going on with ownership. With everything going on there in terms of they're all over the place and they're not really have a sure idea of who's going to be the general going forward. Does he want us to come to a situation like this?
You're starting to hear reports from some guys saying that I think we've heard from this week that he may not want to, but I don't know if I believe that. As bad as things look right now, I think that whoever any of the coaches that would be coming out next year, it's the Bears' job is going to be a highly sought after job. Yeah. With Caleb, with what they got in the offense, with all the draft picks, the draft capital they got next year, which I'm hoping that will be the offensive line will be built through the draft next year. If you look at Detroit's offensive line, you look at any good offensive line in the NFL right now, they're all built through the draft. Because let's face it, guys, teams don't give up good offensive linemen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You have to build it through the draft, just like Detroit did. Mm-hmm. So I'm hopeful. I mean, God, Ben Johnson would be my dream hire. I don't know exactly how he is as leader of men. I'm not in the locker room. He seems all of the players seem to love him, and I think one thing that I think a lot of people aren't talking about is Ben Johnson may want to come to the Bears because I think a lot of people, maybe even Ben Johnson himself, thinks it's not Dan Campbell. He's the reason why Detroit is the powerhouse that they are. And what better way to prove that than come into the division and beat Detroit as the Bears head coach.
Yeah, I agree with that, Daniel. And I don't think it would be a Mike Martz situation. Remember when Martz came here as OC, where that was just evil that didn't work out. Mike Martz always thought his game plans were better than they actually were. But
Yeah, we don't need a tight end.
Yeah.
Just get rid of Greg Olsen. That worked out well.
Yeah, he was no good.
yeah, yeah. What did that guy do after we let him go? 3 All-Pros or something like that. All right, friends, let's move on to what Coop was talking about a few minutes ago, the crazy Drake May riddle. This segment of Monsters of the Madhouse is brought to you by our friends at River Street Tavern in East Dundee, where you can earn double lunch return points on Fridays from 11 to 4, and you can catch the epic UFC fight of the decade, Jones versus Miocic, for the undisputed World Heavyweight Championship, coming up at UFC 309 live at River Street Tavern. All right, friends, the fellas have gone all in on Drake May as their next Tom Brady project. With the third overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, hails from North Carolina State, and he's been a wowing and kind of a cringing thoroughbred quarterback since taking over the job a few weeks ago. Last week against Tennessee, he throws for 206 yards, runs for another 995 yards, and fellas, one of the best plays I've seen all year, eludes defenders for 12 seconds before finding Ramondre Stevenson for an overtime forcing touchdown just before the regulation horn. Now, of course, because he's still a work in progress, he throws 2 picks, including a costly one in overtime that ends up coming back to haunt the Pats. Coopy's obviously a quarterback work in progress, but where does May impress you the most on the film that you've seen on him, Matt?
You know, especially watching that game last week is his mobility. I didn't realize he was that mobile of a quarterback, and he's able to move pretty well. I think that, you know what's funny is he and Jaden Daniels kind of remind me a little bit of each other. Now, I think Drake May was a little bit more mobile, but he looked very comfortable. Like that last play of the game, I mean, that was full of chaos there. Like he was trying to just get that ball into the end zone. And when I was watching him, it did not look like he was panicked. Like he didn't look like he was in a big panic. And he got that ball off and for that touchdown pass. I'm like, dude, that's pretty impressive. Not only that, but I was pretty impressed with some of the other throws that he made in that game. And you guys got to realize something about the Patriots too. You know, as we look at our rookie quarterbacks in this draft this year, because I mean, I think it's safe to say right now, Jaden Daniels has played the best. Not saying he's going to be the best in the future, but I think he's played the best so far. But the Patriots offense is abysmal right now. Like if you look at all their categories, they're in the bottom. Like points per game, they're 30th. Total yards per game, 32nd. Pass yards a game, 32nd. And rushing yards, they're 24th. Like their numbers are terrible when you look at it, and they don't really have playmakers on that team. But with KJ Osborne, maybe the receiver Hunter. I know Henry's still a pretty good tight end, but I don't know how much he's going to be involved with that offense, because I thought some of these guys are either going to be there or not be there next year. So he's doing this right now with a lot of players on that team that were more than likely not going to be there next year, and a lot of guys that like they don't have a DJ Moore on that team. They don't have a Cole Kmet on that team. So I think that's what's pretty impressive about me with Drake May is he was able to do that, and he keeps his team in the games like that.
Yeah, and you know, you got to be cautious because his predecessor had an All-Pro rookie season before he kind of hit a wire, but against a thin Bears secondary, Jamari, that is again going to be missing, unfortunately, Jaquan Brisker. Looks like Kyler Gordon will be out too. Where does May, Jamari, pose the most trouble for the Bears defense?
I think if they stick with the run game, because we've been struggling stopping the run. Kyler, if he plays this week, he'll have to come up big. Like you said, we're missing Brisker. So yeah, I think if they probably keep attacking us in the run game, stick with that, I think that they can stay in the game.
Daniel, how do you defend a quarterback like this? How does Eric Washington have to jazz up the Bears' pass defense game plan for May?
I think just like any other rookie quarterback, I mean, although the Bears don't do it much, is blitz disguise their coverage. Maybe throw some exotic blitzes in there. I don't think it's much different than any other rookie quarterback, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a good point. At the end of the day, he's still a rookie, and let's hope he remembers that this Sunday against the Bears. All right, guys, let's talk about what Jamari was talking about before, how to bring Caleb Williams back to passing life. This segment of Monsters of the Madhouse is brought to you by Chris Chelios's El Bandino Yankee. For nothing celebrates Bears victories like the tequila heaven of El Bandino Yankee. Fellas, get yours at elbandinoyankee.com. Jamari, let's start with you. You know, you were talking about this. Caleb Williams hasn't cooked up the passing touchdown in 8 quarters of football, and as Enzo Drought shows in the Bears' 4-4 record, how does he get back on a touchdown page, Jamari, with a clearly frustrated DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Keenan Allen on Sunday?
We have to start attacking the middle of the field and also go back to the quick routes. Like early in the season, Caleb was hitting his receivers on the slants, and we was using Kmet a little bit more. I think we need to get back to him because he went a few games without getting a target.
Yeah, like 2 targets in 2 games.
Yeah, so I think that first I would start by trying to get him involved. And we also have to get the rhythm passing going, like the 3 to 5 step passing. That's what we need to do. Like, what was it last week? they kept going to like 7-step drop and blocking everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yo, we only have 3 people going out in routes. So
Yeah.
I think if you start releasing like 4 to 5 guys and let Caleb, let him hit the intermediate short stuff, I think we can get him back in rhythm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as Jay Gris says too, get that run game set up. Jamari, you mentioned it too. We'll kickstart everything. Hey, Coop. Speaking of Moore, he's let it known this week that he's not a fan of the direction this Bears season is taking. Is Moore's actions valid frustration from a team leader and all-pro wide receiver?
You know what's interesting about that? To me, and I could be 100% wrong on this, but I feel like there's no connection, or there's something's missing between the Williams and Moore connection.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't know if that's on the quarterback. I don't know if that's on the offensive court. I mean, it could be all the above. I mean, let's face it, the offense is underperforming right now in the last couple of weeks. They just haven't included in him. I'm like, you're paying him all this money to be a number 1 wide receiver, and he's just not in the game. Yeah. So and listen, I'm not going to doubt his. I mean, we've seen him make some ridiculous plays and ridiculous catches since he's been with us, and I'm a big DJ Moore fan. But it also has me starting to question a little bit: is he a top tier receiver like a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson? I don't know the answer to that. I don't think he is. So I don't know. Maybe you got to take down those expectations just a little bit. But at the same time, you got to find that combination. And not only that, I saw somewhere else here in the chat. It was from I can't remember who it was, about bringing up 𝐶 That's another one that I feel like we have to find somewhere that 𝐶's been missing the last couple of weeks. But a number 1 wide receiver in your offense, any productive offense in the NFL has to have the number 1 receiver be productive. And so far, DJ Moore the last couple of weeks has not. And I just wonder if there's some type of connection issue there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's the $1 million question, I think, Coop. Daniel, let's talk about that. These two, for some reason, haven't been on the same page the last 2 or 3 weeks. The reason why I don't think it's a Moore issue, because we saw him catch passes from like 1,000 different quarterbacks in Carolina and still be able to be effective. From your vantage point, why are these two not getting on the same page?
First, I think let's face it, it's an accuracy issue. Caleb, how many times have we seen him throw the ball over their head? Another thing too is I think that Waldron is using Moore as the inside the slot receiver. Moore isn't a slot receiver. Moore is or is that the X receiver? I think is the inside. I think he's more of a wide, even though he's smaller. He's more of a wide receiver. I think that may be something. It may have something to do with it. And it just, Caleb may not be getting the correct reads as he should. I mean, he is still a rookie. So I think just the mixture of those 3, just the combination of those 3. And then maybe Waldron isn't scheming them.
That's the other part of this riddle too. Hey friends, great stuff through the chat. Please keep dialing us up in the chat room. Great thoughts from everybody. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll try to get to some more of those comments as we roll along. Jamar, you were talking about this too. Last week, DeAndre Swift held without a touchdown for the first time in 4 games. How does DeAndre and the Bears running game jumpstart their production against New England's number 26 rushing defense on Sunday?
I think they need to attack in between the tackles. Like I hate that we always. It seems like when we go outside, we don't get anywhere. Like anytime we run outside zone, seem like we don't get anywhere. So I think, my opinion, we have to just go up the field, like either get some power runs going, trap something like that. Um, yeah, and maybe even to get the run game going, like I said, incorporate Roshan. Even if you got, I want to say run Caleb to death, but keep the defense honest sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, great points from everybody. Also from folks chiming in as well. You know, a lot of our viewers are talking about what we've been talking about too. Shane Waldron has got to take his share of the blame on this. He's got to take a fair share of a lot of things about this team not finding consistency in the offensive game. Don Burr said it best. Caleb wants to play hero ball, run in circles, look for 40-yard bombs when the 10-second yard check down is there. That's not on Shane or Shane. That's a great point. That's a great point. And how much of this is Caleb doing too much freelancing, Caleb doing too much improvising, trying to as the guys are saying, make that spectacular play when the easier, productive one is right there in front of him, Daniel?
I mean, I think it's a combination of both, right? It's not one or the other. We all could agree that Waldron's play calling, scheming, whatever you want to call it, is leaving a lot to be desired right now. I mean, some of the plays he's calling can't be disputed or just, I mean, crazy, insane.
Yeah.
Handing off to the linemen. Some of those fourth down calls, I think, are you run the ball up the middle. I mean, you can't give 1 yard with Roshan Johnson. I mean, that's what the guy's built for. And you're going and you're doing screen passes or passing behind the line of scrimmage. It's ridiculous. I just want to just, I don't know.
Calm down, Dad.
I hear you, Dad. We're here for you, brother. This is therapy, all of us together.
Look, Asmodic 74 agrees with you, Dan. Waldron's scheme is trash. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. All right, guys, here's something that will make us all smile. The Las Vegas Raiders this week told Luke Getsy, "You're fired again." This segment of Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse, is proudly brought to you, friends, by Bridges Scoreboard, your Northwest Indiana Chicago sports headquarters, the Hall of Fame menu, and the proud host of Brandon Trax Hyatt, Jim Miller, Time Miller, and everybody's wide receiver, Wendell Davis. The boys will be at Bridges this Sunday to get you all prepped for the Bears-Pats showdown with CSP's Bear Down Chicago Bears-Pats pregame show starting at 11 a.m. live from your Northwest Indiana Chicago sports headquarters. You know, Jamari, believe it or not, there are teams in the National Football League that do not hesitate to fire underperforming coaches. Now, or in the case of Las Vegas Raiders owner Mark Davis, he just loves firing people. But whatever the case, Jamari, that Raiders axed former Bears offensive coordinator Luke Getsy as their OC this week after Luke, are you ready for this, Jamari? Shockingly, failed to deliver a competitive offense for the last place Raiders. You could have told him that wasn't going to work. Jamari, is Mark Davis blinded by pride or general disinterest in his team? Or how did anybody not see this coming, Jamari?
I mean, it was written on the wall. Like I said, like with Getsy last year, well, actually the last 2 years when he was with the Bears, his offense just stagnated, especially when we had these 2 possession leads. He would get unimaginative, like the offense would just sputter. So, I mean, with the Raiders, almost the same thing happened. I wouldn't say they was blowing leads, but their offense was struggling. So I think it was written on the wall that he was going to get fired.
Yeah.
I think these organizations get out of town stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're also a big fraternity too. So you know, guys are willing to give their friends jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is that good old boy element to the NFL without question. Coop, is this a further indictment of Matt Eberflus for trusting the Bears offense and the development of Justin Fields for 2 years to Getsy, whose next likely coaching stop is probably the United Football League?
Do you think they'll take him?
He'll have to audition, I think.
For his sake, I hope so, man. So he can go work. Even though I'm sure the Raiders are paying him out. I don't even know what the contract is like, but at least he's getting paid out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you got to look at it that way. I mean, our offense has struggled here the last couple of even still. I mean, it still hasn't been fixed. We're still on the bottom of every
Yeah.
category in the league on our offense right now. And and I can't be biased. Listen, I watch every Steelers game. Living in a Steelers household with a girlfriend that's a diehard Steelers fan, so we watch every single Steelers game. But it's noticeable to me that Justin Fields looked like a completely different quarterback his first
Yeah.
6 games.
Right.
Listen, was he still doing some of the same things that he did with us? Yes, where he would miss some wide receivers. But there was a couple of things right away. He was getting rid of the ball quicker. He was not, I mean, he fumbled a few times, but he got rid of the ball a little bit quicker. And he was making quicker decisions. And that's what happens when you go to a offensive system where a guy like Arthur Smith has been coaching for a long time and can teach that out of you. And he just looked like he was more composed, and he looked like he was a little bit more confident in himself. And you just go back to that and think about what could have been, and you just don't know. I have no idea. But I also think too, guys, this is also somewhat of a problem in the NFL in general. I think we're in a lull in the NFL right now. Look at all the really bad teams right now. There's so many bad teams. There's so many 1-2 win teams with bad coaching staffs and bad offensive coordinators and bad offensive minds that I think in the NFL in general that this is like one time that as much as I can remember where you got your really good teams with the good coaching staffs, and then you got the ones that are below that are not there yet. So I just think it's kind of a bigger problem in the NFL right now as well.
Yeah, and Tom Brady talks about that all the time. The reason why we have all of these rookie quarterbacks is it's just not good football right now, and teams are throwing darts against the blackboard trying to find an answer for their offenses. Let's go back though. Let's break this down in hindsight. What can the Bears learn, Jamari, from the Raiders firing of Getsy? Is there anything we can learn in hindsight now? We already knew the guy didn't know NFL offenses, but what can we learn going forward from this?
I think going forward, the Bears need to stop taking chances on guys that hasn't called plays with their previous team. Like I'm not sure if Getsy called plays when he was in Green Bay. I know I heard of him, but I'm not sure if he called plays. Same with Matt Nagy. Like years ago when we hired him, he wasn't the primary play caller. I think we need to start going at the guys who has the experience of calling plays, whether it's in the NFL, college, at some level at this point. Yeah, and they have to stop. They have to stop playing around when they making these hires, because these types of hires affect like how your quarterback and your offense develop. So
It's a good point, Jamar. And there's great to everybody. I want to thank our chat room is blowing up on this. As we go full circle back to Ben Johnson. Demon Dice, great point about you have to be careful with the coordinator. Don Burr talking about Ben Johnson and his kids and his wife love Michigan. He's a loyal guy. It's going to take the perfect situation for him to leave, and the Bears aren't that. Great point there. Guys, but I want back to the big picture of this, Dano. We talk about it's been the story in the NFL for the last 30 years. I remember when I was a kid, the hottest offensive coordinator, the hottest defensive coordinator coming off a deep playoff run always goes to the top of the list. Do we have to change that mindset? Is it just because Ben Johnson might be the OC right now that he's not naturally going to be a good fit for the Bears?
I guess the number one priority would be is who's the best leader of men when you're looking at head coaches. But in our situation with Caleb Williams, here's the problem, guys. If we hire a defensive mind or a special teams, whatever, if our head coach isn't a young, innovative, young mind, offensive mind, whoever he hires as his offensive coordinator, even if that offensive coordinator succeeds, what's going to happen in a year or two? That offensive coordinator is going to go somewhere else. So if we hire a guy with like Ben Johnson or the guy from Tampa Bay, whoever are the young offensive coordinator, head coach, next head coach, he's going to stick around for a while. That's going to have continuity. That you know what I mean, which is very important for an NFL team, especially a young quarterback.
Yeah.
It's not rotating chairs of offensive coordinators, and it may stunt his development. It may stunt his development if they keep rotating coordinators in and out.
Amos with a brilliant point. We need to find an experienced head coach, need to stop with the rookies, and we need to find a guy who looks at Chicago as a destination job without question. All right, gentlemen, now let's go to the fastest 2 minutes in sports. Man, I've missed this segment of Chicago Sports Podcast. Let's go with the Chicago 2-minute sports drill. Hey, Coop, let's start with you. We're going to switch things up. We're going to head to NASCAR. Does his Airness, Sir Michael Jeffrey Jordan, do the unthinkable crossover and win a NASCAR Seasons Point Championship this weekend with his man Tyler Reddick at NASCAR's title race at Phoenix Raceway? Can Michael Jeffrey Jordan do something that I think, if my memory serves, only Joe Gibbs has done before? Crossover and wins world championships in 2 major sports.
Do I think it could happen? Yes. Do you think the average person, do you think really cares about it? No.
No.
Not to sound like the downer. Listen, would that be impressive? Yes. I grew up in a NASCAR family. My dad, my uncles, I went to NASCAR races all the time, and I still follow it. It's not. I don't think it's as big as it once was about 15 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But at the same time, yes, if Michael Jordan could come in and do that and make a name for himself in another sport, I think it's something special. And I think it's something that, you're right, it hasn't been done, but I don't know if the average everyday person would look at that saying, well, is that going to be up there on an upper echelon of some of the greater sports?
Right.
I don't know the answer to that. I just don't know.
And the reason I bring it up is, from a, we all watched him. We all watched what a competitor he was, and we know how hard he wanted to make it work with the White Sox. We all know how hard he wanted to make it work with the Washington Wizards when he came back, when he was the owner of the Charlotte Hornets. This guy's competitive fire is like nothing I've ever seen. I've never seen anyone. I will include Tom Brady and Tiger Woods, Dano, in that conversation. I've never seen a competitor like this. If he's able to do this, Dano, is this just another statement of what a competitor that this guy is, no matter what he's doing? I mean, this guy would not spot his grandchildren at checker and Connect Four. I mean, he's that intense.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the what was that documentary in 2020?
The Last Dance. Yeah.
Last Dance. Sorry, yeah. I mean, geez, I don't. You're right. There's nobody more competitive than Michael Jordan. And I don't know, he didn't do too well with the Charlotte Hornets or the Sox, like you said, but I wouldn't put it against him. I wouldn't bet against him not succeeding in this, especially because of his failures with the White Sox and with the Hornets.
Right. Race time, Jamari, 2:00 Sunday on NBC and Peacock. Does he pull it off, Jamari?
Well, I don't really follow NASCAR like that. I'm sorry, but well, if I know Michael Jordan, I know he's definitely gonna give it his all. I'll say that. He doesn't let anything hold him back. He goes 100% all the time. So that's all I have to say.
That sounds good. That sounds fair enough. Hey, fellas, let's move on to the battle of the Chicago hockey stars that we saw on Wednesday. Patrick Kane, the Chicago icon, who brought 3 Stanley Cups to the Blackhawks, taking on possibly the second coming of Patrick Kane and Connor Bedard. Red Wings won the game in the 9-4-1. But Matt Cooper, who won the duel of Chicago's hockey stars? Patrick Kane or Connor Bedard? Both were scoreless, but Bedard outshot Kane 4-2.
Well, I think it's hard to answer that question. As you just said, they were both scoreless, and you could see the superstar that's budding right here in Connor Bedard. And I think it's pretty cool to watch Patrick Kane. Did you see what he was talking about when he first came back, when he first walked inside and he started looking around and just started thinking of all the memories that he had at the United Center?
Yeah.
And here he is now with the Red Wings trying to do something. Now that I was looking at the and I watch a lot of NHL here during the week. The Red Wings are just kind of like in the middle of the pack right now. They're trying to find themselves. They're trying to see if they're on the upper echelon as a playoff team or if they're just kind of stuck in the middle. And from what I've watched so far, and it's just still the beginning of the season, this is kind of a whole way to go, but they're still just kind of like right in the middle of the year. So I feel like this is it. Like if Patrick Kane wants to go out and try to do another big playoff push, the Red Wings got to try to be better than what they have been. But at the end of the day, I think it's cool when you see a legendary player like Patrick McCann go against a guy that's in the making for the Blackhawks right now. That's going to be a superstar if he's not a superstar already. To see them go head to head against each other like that. And I watched a lot of that game. So I think it was cool for me to see that.
It was a lot of fun. The UC crowd is into it. I mean, you felt that roar again at the Madhouse on Madison. And of course, as we know, we haven't been able to hear that a lot over the last couple of years. Hey guys, really quickly, I want to get your thoughts. Daniel, starting with you a month into their respective seasons, Bulls and Blackhawks both playing 2 to 3, kind of where we thought they would be. Although the Bulls, I think, have been really impressive with what they've been able to do early on against their schedule. On a scale of an A to F grade scale, Dano, what would be your early first quarter grades for the first month of the season, I should say, for both the Bulls and Blackhawks?
I have to plead a little bit of ignorance, guys. I'm not real big with the Bulls and Blackhawks. I could talk Cubs and Bears all day, but being honest, I'm not sure.
Well, that's not a bad thing, Daniel, because what that means is they've got to earn your interest back. I mean, both teams have been, just so mediocre for so long now. They've got to bring back casual fans and earn casual fans back, like yourself. Jamar, have you been able to check out anything Chicago hockey or basketball wise to kind of get a beat on where these two teams are at right now?
I'm the same as Dano right now.
Yeah.
I don't really follow them. I mean, I followed the Bulls a little bit when they acquired Lonzo because I'm a Lakers fan, but I'm not gonna pretend to know anything about the Bulls.
But you both made great statements about where those teams are. They need to get wins and they need to get stars that are going to generate interest for both of you. And Coop, is that really kind of the point right now too? It's just this town, this city, this sports podcast company. It's a Bears town now more than ever, just because they are just good or bad, so much compelling theater.
Well, I think the problem is the Bulls have been so mediocre. And if you want to call it mediocre, the last couple of seasons. And it's funny, we were talking about the beginning part of the Bulls season, and they got a couple of wins that we weren't expecting it. But then again, I'm watching them play Minnesota last night, and they get and then I see them give up the second half. I'm like, oh my God, they blew them away. And I'm like, well, this is the difference between a team that can be a championship team in the end for the end, like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who is a very, very, very good team. And then the Bulls, who are just kind of right there where they were last year, where they're just kind of maybe fighting for a 7th or 8th seed, which I think that's realistic when you look at their lineup and their roster. Now, I don't know. I'll be quite honest with you, Clay. I don't know what they were trying to do this year. I don't know if they were trying to do a tear down. I don't know if they were trying to I
don't think they know, Coop.
I'm so confused on this team. I'm so confused on what they were trying to do because they have some competitive players on that team, and there's some games you watch them and they can score and they can do certain things that you're like, oh, maybe this will make things interesting. And then you watch last night, and I'm like, well, why am I watching them play these teams? Because they just get blown out the way they did. But I think there's more hope for the Blackhawks right now because of their young team mixed with some of their core veterans. I still think they're another year away. I still think it's going to be difficult for them to even make the playoffs this year. But you could see some of the progress from the games that I've watched so far. I see some of the progress that they have made. And I just still think it's going to be another year away before they need to get some more players on that team.
I agree with you. It's just like some big soup. They're throwing all these players in this soup and hoping it has some kind of spice and seasoning, and just hasn't working, unfortunately. All right, fellas, before we call it a show, it's time to go on record. Let's go around the horn. Fellas, can you give me your final score of Sunday's Bears-Patriots game? Final score and who wins and what is the X factor? Let's start with you, Matt Cooper.
Oh, I'm on the spot. Damn. Yeah. Well, I was completely wrong last week on my pick. I said that the Bears were going to win by a touchdown over the Cardinals, and that did not happen. That's the last time I picked them to win on the road. From now on, when we do our picks every week and they have a road game, I'm not picking them until they win a road game. Yeah. That's like if you pick against the Chiefs, like if you keep, the Chiefs are going to lose this game, and you're like, no, they're not. So I think, listen, I gave you some of the offensive stats for the Patriots earlier today. Their defense statistically is not much better than the Cardinals of the stuff that I gave last week. I believe they're like 24th or 25th in overall defense right now. I just don't know how they lose this game. Like, you're playing at home. You're playing a team. Listen, with their rookie quarterback, it's going to be interesting to see how Drake May plays against Caleb Williams and who does better and who outshines who. But look at just the talent alone between both teams, between the wide receivers of the Bears, between certain defensive players. Like, there's just so much better talent on our team. And I don't care what Shane Waldron or Matt Eberflus does, or if they do everything they can to lose this game. I still think the Bears overcome that just because they got better players on this team, and they have to get that win before they really get into the schedule. So with me babbling on here about everything between both teams, I'm going to say the Bears win this game. Let's say 21-10.
21-10. I like it. I like it. I'll take any kind of W we can get. Jamari, who you got in this one? What's the final score and what will determine it?
So like I said, last week we had a bad game, and I think that the offensive woes will continue. I still think we'll win because of the talent, but it's definitely going to take a defensive effort. So I got us winning 17-10. I think we'll probably get a special teams touchdown. Like somebody's gonna probably return it. DeAndre Carter. I think he almost had one probably a few weeks ago. So I think he'll probably take one to the house.
Hey, it works for me. Any which way we gets us into Club Dub. Dano Blake's my friend. Who takes Sunday's game and why?
I think the Bears are going to do what they do against bad teams, and they're going to win. I think it's going to be 21-7, 21-10, maybe get a defensive touchdown in there. I think that with the Bears defense against the rookie quarterback, even though he's been playing okay, I think they may end up getting a defensive touchdown. But yeah, I'm thinking 21-7, 21-10, and then the Bears go go on to the rest of the season, and we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, boy. That's why we have to enjoy Sunday any which way we can. Fellas, I like how you're thinking. I'm going to make it a perfect 4-for-4. I'm calling Bears 20-13 with Caleb Williams finally rediscovering a man named Cole Kmet for a touchdown and Cairo Santos doing what he does. Let's do it. Let's bear down, boys. Let's see if we can get this one. Lord knows we need it. Friends, don't forget, 11 a.m. Sunday. It is the U.S. Navy veteran, Brandon Trax Hyatt, the Punky LT. It is Chicago's quarterback, Jim Miller. It is the toughest wide receiver the good Lord ever created, Wendell Davis. Those boys will be live from Bridges Scoreboard, getting you ready for the big game at 11 a.m. Be there or be square, folks, with the best game day party for the Bears in all of Chicagoland. And folks, want to let you know we are here with you not only because we have the greatest fans in sports podcasting, but because we have the greatest sponsors in sports podcasting. We would like to thank our great team, Avenue 912, Set 'em Up Lanes, Elite Sports Framing and Memorabilia, Bridges Scoreboard, Serendipity Ice Cream Parlor, The Worst Stadium Club, TC's World of Wonders, River Street Tavern, Chris Chelios' El Bandino Yankee, and Key City Riding. We can't thank our sponsors enough, and we cannot thank you. Love the stuff in the chat tonight, guys. Love the passion, love the fire, love the discussion on Ben Johnson. We'll be talking more about that as we go along. Fellas, before we call it a night, what's everybody got going on the itinerary for this weekend?
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, what's going on? What you got on the schedule for this weekend, Dano?
I'll be going out of town.
Got out of town?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to the Tennessee game tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. Go Vols.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, man.
I'm just gonna be relaxing this weekend. That's all I'm doing, and getting ready to watch college football and Bears football this Sunday.
Hey, that sounds like the perfect weekend, Jamari. Absolutely. Bear down, everyone. Hey, and for our veterans, which include our fearless leader, Brandon Trax Hyatt, a proud veteran of the United States Navy, we thank you for your service, for everything you do for our country. Monday is for you. Take the day off. That means you, Brandon Trax Hyatt. No working. It's Veterans Day. Thank you so much to all our veterans. Hope you have a wonderful Veterans Day. Friends, we hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us on the Voice of the Chicago Sports Fan. You have been watching Chicago Sports Podcast, Monsters of the Madhouse. Good night, everybody.